And it is time to jump multiverses. Let's go ahead and head over to the MCU. We're in phase 4, talking about title number 26. It's the third phase 4 title of the year, and it is not stopping. More titles coming out. If this schedule we have pulled up right now is correct, there's still 7 more MCU things to come out this year in 2021, not to mention everything slated for the next couple years. Insane, and we are on the second episode of Loki. Tom Hiddleston is in his own premiere series. This is episode 2, titled The Variant, 55 minutes, which means it's about 40 minutes or so. I mean, it is a solid 13. I mean, it's a real 13 minutes of credits.
It's got that part's crazy.
I mean, it's so long. You get the full, beautiful design credits, and then there's a whole separate 5 minutes of boring credits.
Yeah, it was 7 minutes of credits. That's what I counted today.
Okay, so a little less than what I said.
And then probably a 3-minute recap.
You get a good recap in the beginning, at least 1 minute, 2 minutes. Let's talk about the description for this one. Talk about where we picked up from episode 1. Full spoiler alert for episode 2. Right now, we're gonna bust it wide open. 4 to go on this thing, but let's go ahead and get our little review in right now. Mobius puts Loki to work, but not everyone at TVA is thrilled about the God of Mischief's presence. So let's just kind of set it up. This is gonna be a roundtable discussion. PC Mike, the Giggler, myself talk about what we feel and maybe some predictions for next week. Honestly, at this point, we're just kind of exploring what's happening. So we picked up after episode 1. Loki's basically come to terms with what the TVA is. He understands that Infinity Stones don't really have a power. They don't work in the TVA. These folks are controlling all of time, and he decides, you know what? I'm going to stick it out. Of course, we know Loki. He's probably going to try to take over at some point, right? He's like, let's try to get – this is the greatest power in the universe. PC Mike said it last week. He picks up on this early. Well, if Loki sees the biggest power hanging right in front of him, he's going to go for it. In this episode – just real quick, I will say, I've talked about this a little bit, this episode was a lot slower than episode 1. We kind of talked about it. If you want to call it kind of a filler episode, this definitely had some dead space. A lot of Loki at the TVA doing research, helping Owen Wilson. We do learn a little bit more about time travel and the intricacies of it. And just to get the big spoiler out of the way, because I want to talk about this whole thing at length, we do meet the other Loki at the end of this episode. And yes, we gave that spoiler alert. It's a female Loki. Andy, you were spot on. You called it. I know there were theories going around, but we meet the female Loki. I don't know. We're gonna have to get this actress's name. I've never seen her before.
Oh, I had it pulled up. 1 sec.
Go ahead. We'll have it ready. And she has a plan of her own. Loki and Loki come face to face, and then he does follow her through a time door while the TVA is kind of scurrying from a time multiverse bomb that she sets off. Multiverses getting blown up. Well, how many of those bombs did she send out? Maybe 100 of them. Let's get into it. Giggler, tell me what you thought overall. Episode 2, you watched episode 1 last week. We raved about it. How'd this one go for you?
All right, Lady Loki, Sophia DiMartino.
Sophia DiMartino, she is our female Loki, at least by the looks of it. I mean, this is the variant they led us to believe. She's got the Loki horns on her head. She's a blonde woman. I don't recognize her from anything.
You never know what trick she has up her sleeve, or him,
because they're Lokis.
Or they. I don't know. What do we call it? Loki now.
Well, it depends on which one. Because at this point,
he could be whatever he or she wants it.
That's absolutely right. And if there's an opportunity for her to identify and say it out loud, but as of right now, I'm calling it. I've been saying to myself, female Loki. And then our Loki is kind of what I've been calling Tom Hiddleston, because he's like our timeline Loki, but not really. He's his own thing.
Lady Loki, I think, is what
Lady Loki,
what the comic's name is. So
which makes sense. That's how they refer to ladies, kind of in Asgard world, Lady Sith.
Yeah, but do you think they're gonna have a love thing?
Do you think they're into each other, like a romance?
Doesn't Loki love himself?
But then is that
But it is himself.
Is that incest?
No.
Not if it's himself.
No, I think that you have different blood. You're in different blood, different multiverse. What did you think of this thing overall? Did you enjoy this episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not as much, like you said. I think I agree. It was a little bit slower than the last one. But it's picking up, and it's I think that's kind of how a lot of what the path was for the prior seasons for the last couple of shows. It's there's a little bit of filler, and then the last few episodes of the season just kind of blow up. And if I recall correctly, I listened to an interview with Tom Hiddleston the other day. he says that end of episode 4, beginning of episode 5, is where you're going to just be wowed. So have that to look forward to.
Well, that's great. That's all fine and dandy, but gosh, after
Why can't
living
we
through
have-
WandaVision and living through Falcon Winter Soldier, I think you said it last week, PC Mike, but like all these interviews, okay, let's just watch it and see what happens, because I don't know, like the hype of each individual episode gets a little like, we said it earlier, you're like, I can't wait for Black Widow. I'm like, yeah, me too. Just going to see a movie that I haven't seen any part of, and then at the end of that movie, it'll be over, and we'll have to talk about it, and we won't see it again for later. Right now, it's like, you can watch, we've already watched this episode twice today.
Yeah.
All of us. Like, it's just different, you
it's
know,
a
and you
s-
just, I feel like
yeah.
there's an overanalyzation to it, but also, I don't know, it's fun. That's why we're doing
That's
it.
what we do, yeah.
Yeah. Right. PC Mike, how'd this go for you? What'd you think of episode 2?
I thought it was fine. I think it's kind of a setup episode
Mhm.
to set up other things. I do like on the poster that little coin thing. That was kind
Oh.
of cool little part when it was out, and like Loki was messing with the coin thing, like trying to hit it with the newspaper and
Miss
stuff. Like,
Minutes?
is that it? Is
Her
that what
name,
it is?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So Miss Minutes is giving him in the first 10 minutes of this thing,
Yeah.
like the rundown.
Yeah.
She's quizzing him.
But she's like hitting. He's like trying to hit it, and then it goes in the computer and stuff. I don't know. That was kind of fun. The build up and the switching of going into different people and kind of see. There were some shocking reveals. I don't know why were they in Oshkosh, Wisconsin in the 80s.
Yeah, so let's just go and open it up.
Like,
That's
did
where it
anyone-
opens up, right? This episode's in the 80s at like a Renaissance festival. Where was it again?
Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
And this is where the variant Loki they're hunting has made their last attack. It opens with an attack on these time cops, and this is where we see exactly what Mike was talking about. Apparently, she has like possessive powers. She puts her fingers to your head, little green light goes on, and the way I understand it after watching the entire episode is like she's possessing these people.
There was a 19.
It's her
Yeah, that's what's wild is like the Tesseract Loki needed the Tesseract to do that, like
to do what?
originally, to like basically possess people, like in Avengers
Yeah,
originally, but like
how
he's not really possessing him, I guess. He's just,
No, he didn't use the Tesseract to possess. Tesseract's just the space stone.
didn't he? I mean, he hit him like Hawkeye with the
The Mind Stone.
yeah, my
his staff.
bad,
Loki's staff.
my bad. Yeah,
You're right.
I have it backwards.
No, but you're right. He needed an Infinity Stone to do
Yes.
this. He used the Mind Stone to control Dr. Selvig, to control Hawkeye in Avengers.
I got
This
my-
Loki,
I got my stones mixed up, like
I
you
do
did
it
a few
all-
weeks ago.
Yeah, like I did the same thing. It happens all the time. Actually, in last week's episode, another correction. I somehow said 7 stones in the last episode. There were only 6
Oops.
Infinity Stones. But you're totally right. The OG Loki in Avengers had to use the Mind Stone to do this. This Loki almost seems like she can operate in her own body, but then also possess one person at a time, and they usually survive, is what she says at the end. But why were they in Oshkosh? And like, what was up at this Renaissance fair?
I just read nothing really significant happened in 1985 Oshkosh, Wisconsin, except Ronald Reagan visited there and talked about tax reform.
Oh God!
So I don't know if it's like a political
Man,
thing,
that
like
sounds
tax reform or something.
Exhilarating.
I
So-
can't wait for episodes 3 to talk about tax reform.
But then on this website, it talks about, or perhaps the writers chose 1985 solely so they could play "Holding Out for a Hero."
I need a hero.
Yeah.
I did love that. I did like that a lot. That opening song. Well, they are jumping around a lot in this one. You know, it seems like, does it matter where they go all the time? I mean, when they do finally track down the Loki variant, which let's just talk a little bit about how he does this. This is the middle of the episode where, again, a lot of downtime, a lot of Loki and Mobius walking around the TVA, which, check out the shirt.
Love the shirt.
Mm,
Thank you, Carrie.
Just Carrie,
Yeah.
not last name.
Yeah, right. I'm going to bleep that out. TVA shirt. She surprised me with this just 2 days ago after we recorded last week. I mean, it's he's literally wearing like the
Mhm.
outfit that he gets
Yeah.
in this one, which he does look pretty slick in that jacket.
Yeah, I do like that.
where was this from again?
This is Hot Topic.
Note
of course.
to my wife, Steph, FYI, please watch this on the YouTube on Monday while we're working, and make sure you buy me this shirt as well.
Needs
Thank
to
you.
be like a thing where it's like, click to buy this product, and I make like 5%. That'd be pretty good. TVA, yeah. These guys are wandering around it. Loki's reading material. Owen Wilson, they basically put him to work. Like he's working at the TVA.
Yeah, like which files can I see?
And he's like, show me how the TVA was created. Show me how the beginning of time. And the librarian's like, restricted or confidential,
Yeah.
confidential. But then Loki does read about Ragnarok.
because she gives him his file, right?
Yes.
That's the only file she gives.
He says, what can you give me? And she just gives him, I guess, a file on him. Or maybe, I don't know, just anything else.
Yeah.
And he reads about Ragnarok, and he learns that basically if you time travel to a place where an apocalypse happens, you can do anything you want, and it won't cause a nexus point. You can go there. You can do anything. How do they prove this to us? Well, they added on a scene that I just didn't really need. We talked about it, the Pompeii scene where him and Owen Wilson go back, and Loki basically mocks all these people that get killed by the massive Pompeii volcano. And this just proves his point that he's correct. Okay, so then they discover, all right, well, the variant is hiding in the year 2050, really jumping ahead.
Mhm.
A couple other things we want to talk about, too. I want to talk about Owen Wilson talking to his boss at the TVA.
Yes.
And I also need to get her name down because I don't even know her name, and she's on the poster.
I got it.
You got it?
Ravonna Renslayer.
That's the character name?
That's the that's a character's name.
Ravonna
The
Rainslayer?
yeah.
Wow.
The one in the office with like the
Cool
3
name.
times keeper statues behind her
Yes.
and all the other like artifact stuff. Yeah.
Yes, the artifacts, and Owen Wilson goes to see her twice. There's that weird scene with him putting his drink down, and there's like little rings on her table, little water rings. You know, like if you don't use a coaster.
Yeah.
And she goes, Mobius, and he's like, sorry about that. And like the camera really focuses on like him putting down the cup, and she goes, all those are from you anyway. I was like, it felt like it mattered. Maybe it didn't.
And they zoned in on the pen that she showed him for that second. It was like
yes, and the stuff she has.
it was like Theodore Roosevelt High School or something like that. And I
Yeah.
was like something, or it was like president or something like that. I don't know what it was. I was just like noted it for future. Obviously, I didn't get the president right, but
Well, and we even watched it twice. I was watching that scene again, and I was like, I don't really know what's going on here. Regardless, though, Mobius is asking some questions about the people himself, the timekeepers. He goes, how are the timekeepers doing? And she's like, they're doing fine. They're really worried about this Loki variant. It's very important to them that we catch this thing soon. And she's like, this is your last strike with this Loki, the Loki that we're watching with Tom Hiddleston. She's like, you guys, you don't need to be using him in the field. And he has to like kind of beg her to do it.
Mhm.
Literally, the second time he does it, Mobius, he's like, all right, we got to go to 2050 to catch the Loki variant. And she's like, well, you can't bring this Loki with you, and really fights him on it. She's like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, come on, you got to trust me. You know, Owen Wilson just being great in this. It started to lead me to believe that maybe, what's her name again? That's going to be one of those.
Ravonna Renslayer.
That Ravonna might be up to something, or not even necessarily a bad guy, but maybe she's, you know, Mobius and Loki are stumbling onto something they shouldn't quite know about. It kind of felt like that a little bit.
So thinking about the rings,
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
might be a stretch.
Go ahead.
We do have a film coming out later this year, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yes.
Could it be something where, is that a multiverse type thing where?
What are
No.
the 10 rings? Do you guys remember?
No idea.
It's I think he wears them on in comics. I think it's like finger rings, but in the movie it looks like he's going to be wearing them like on his arms. Like
And these 10 rings have like
I
powers.
think something like that.
Hmm,
I don't know.
that's a good
Shows
question.
how much we
Hey,
know.
trying to connect some rings.
We're just spitballing, and there's not a ton of this episode. We've already gave the big spoiler for the ending, but I'm trying to explore anything else in the middle before we get to that big ending. Any other thoughts around the TVA? Did you guys see anything else? We saw Miss Minutes again, that boss. All right, we'll jump into the end then. You know, if you guys think of anything else, let me know. But
Yeah.
the big ending is they're in 2050. Giggler, you were spot on. I was like, 2050? Oh, cool. What are we going to see here? And they're at like a Costco.
I know.
But nothing like out of the ordinary is really happening. I don't feel like. So if I did, it was an Easter egg and I missed it. But they catch up finally with this other variant, and it is female Loki. We find out, and she is possessing people one at a time. But it also appears that she has her own body. She's got little Loki horns on her head, and Loki, our Loki, male Loki, says, "Join me, and we'll take down the TVA together." And she says, female Loki, "I'm not into that. I've considered it for 8 to 10 seconds.
Yep. That was
And the answer is no, and I've got my own thing going on." What's her own thing? Oh, she's collected 50 or so plus of these time bombs that we learned about in episode 1, where they just leave these behind and basically obliterate the timeline when something's gone wrong. They just obliterate it. That's their fixing it.
great.
And they say it in this episode. Loki's like, yeah, you guys told me what happens with those bombs. It's like some like preached up, like sugar-coated explanation of, you know, it's how we heal the timeline. He's like, but I know that means it's all destroyed. I didn't realize that's what was happening when they left that behind. I thought that was like a magic reset.
Same.
but it's not. It's just disintegrating. They just burn it to the ground.
Mhm.
I guess that's why they kind of zoomed in on like the helmet of one of the people that when in the what was it
Oshkosh,
Oshkosh or
Wisconsin.
whatever.
and it just
Yeah,
kinda
like
goes
it just
away.
kind of goes away. I was like, there's a reason why they showed that.
It's like the same as whenever you get poked by one of those sticks, it just tears you apart, like it just disintegrates you down.
Yeah.
So what does she do? She takes 50 of these things. She programs it all to happen at one time, where all the bombs get like detonated. They turn purple. What happens next? They fall through their own little time door, and they get sprinkled all over time. There was a tweet about this. I tweeted it. You can go follow us on Mostly Superhero, and we retweeted it. I forgot who it was from, but it's on our page, and it lists all the places that got bombed. I'm just going to run down the list kind of the top of my head. It did not seem like the years mattered as much. It did not seem like I was matching up places with like movies. It didn't.
Yeah,
it
I was
didn't,
trying to too, but
But here's some places. New York City was one. There was a place in Egypt that was one. Just kind of places all over the world. Here's places that not are on the world that were listed. Sakar, like 1984. Vormir. Don't quote me on these years. I'm just kind of saying.
Titan.
Titan. Thanos' home.
Ego.
That's Guardians of the Galaxy 2. All of these time streams are opening up, and you can see it visibly on the screen back at the TVA, right?
Mhm.
Any theories here, guys? Obviously, she has her own plan. This is very different. She runs through a time door at the end. All these bombs go off. Loki follows her through. Owen Wilson runs up with the TVA soldiers. Everybody's kind of running wild, but all these two Lokis in the episode, where'd they go? That's the big question. I want to hear theories about what this chick is doing.
I don't know what she's doing, but I think what it's going to do for Disney and the MCU is they just got some extra episodes to tie up all these loose ends all around the world, possibly.
But
Just
this
kinda
is
like
so
people have been-
big.
But just like people have been thinking about Captain America going, hey, I would love to see him go and finding all the stones.
Yes.
Like that
Give me
show.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
now you have this option for Disney.
But it's too much. It almost seems like this is
Is
one of
it?
those things that they'll reset at some point. That's what I'm scared of.
I mean, Disney just pumps out Star Wars material like it's literally, I mean, it is their job, but they just keep pumping it out.
Yeah.
Why can't they do it with this? And Loki is the #1 watched Disney Plus show of all time right now.
yeah, but I mean, they wrote it so long ago. But like the
But now they're seen and they're like, oh, guess what? We're going to go clean up all this.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Could
I get
be.
that. But from a story standpoint, what do you think? MCU ramifications, Andy. What do you see happening here? Like, especially episode 3. Like, obviously TVA is going to be trying to fix this, but
They in episode 1 they made it a point to say that there's no multiverse, there's one sacred timeline, nothing strays from it, blah blah blah.
right.
So I think that's her objective, is to create the multiverse. I don't know why.
She's trying to like bring, because the multiverse existed. There was a multiverse war according to the TVA,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had to fix the timeline to the sacred timeline. Well, what is that? We've learned what that means. You're just
Yeah.
destroying
Yeah.
other
So
timelines.
They can't fix this. Like they said, I think
Yeah.
at some point in this episode, the lines they're diverging, like once they hit that red area, then it's unfixable. Like they didn't show them hit that, but there's no way they can fix all these 100 things at one time with the like the people that they have, unless they're prepared for some sort of attack like this. But
Yeah, I know.
I think that I don't know why she's doing it, but I think that for sure my opinion on like the timekeepers right now is that they're not good. They're doing this for some
they're not
nefarious
good.
reason, or like they're doing this to benefit themselves in some manner.
Yeah, because
know
the
how.
sacred timeline, what a sell to be like, well, this is how things have to happen. That's the ultimate power. Like you're literally able to control everything that happens, because you're like, well, if it doesn't follow the sacred timeline, you know.
Was this the episode where they talked about Loki said, why don't you just go back right before
Yes.
something happens? And they're
Yes.
like, well, you can't do that.
He says, didn't you read the files? Didn't you do your training? And the reason was like, this is a active change in motion. And so now the timeline's moving forward. So you have to jump in real time as it's happening.
So how are they going to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like it's like you can never go
Good
back.
luck.
Yeah, exactly. And this is only episode 2. There's 4 to go. So I mean, while this episode, like we said, was a little boring in the middle, like it had the biggest cliffhanger of like, talk about affecting the MCU. There were just bombs dropped all over the galaxy in different points in time, like from 1500s to future, and these time bombs go off. Like, what are we going to see from this? This
Yeah.
is insane.
Is that the plan all along? Is that this would make the multiverse, and then whatever happens in Doctor Strange next year in March is basically them trying to fix it?
It's like it's like a cliffhanger at the end of Loki, and all of us are still going like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they got to fix this in a future title. Oh, we're gonna see effects of this in other titles. We know Spider-Man: No Way Home is gonna have multiverse components.
Maybe, probably, gotta be.
I mean, Doctor Strange is in that movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else they said in that big last talk with Loki to Loki. You know, our male Loki was like, "Come help me with the TVA," and she says that she's got her own thing going on, but it's just I think we just don't have enough information to help predict it. We're just gonna have to wait and see. All right, pretty good. I mean, I love waking up on Wednesday mornings and watching Loki. Big news today. I think it was out of comic book.
Wednesday's the day.
Wednesday's the day for all MCU and Disney stuff moving forward. So it looks like we made the right call.
Except maybe movies.
Movies will I think movies will remain the same, right?
Friday.
Like that's
Yeah.
Thursday night,
Friday. release.
But I think shows are Wednesdays.
Speaking of movies,
Oh, it's in coming up. We're gonna talk about it. I got the slide. Don't worry.
can't wait.
I can't wait either. We're gonna talk about it. Okay, so this is episode 2, Loki. Any final thoughts from you guys? Any predictions you want to make? Anything sticking out? Until then, maybe we'll just wait till episode 3. Do it again.
I'm gonna hold my tongue for now. I have no idea where this is gonna go.
Yeah, this one didn't give us a ton to work with.
Yeah, we've learned from our mistakes of too many obscure predictions.
I like this though. I like just watching it and enjoying it,
Mhm.
and then just talking about it and being like, okay, well, let's just wait and see. Like you said, even with those interviews of people being like, just wait till episode 4. I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah, I agree. I watched the interview and I was like, why do they even say things like that? Like, I just
You
don't
know I'm gonna
understand.
watch. You don't have to like. Tip
Yeah,
me
you
to
don't.
watch.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
like,
already watching. All right, cool. Loki, episode 3. We will be talking about it. We are taking a week off next week. We'll talk about that more and coming up. But either way, all that means is you're going to have back-to-back Loki reviews on an upcoming episode. It's all happened on Disney Plus. Go check it out. And if you want to hear more about the MCU, TV and movies are more complicated than ever. The multiverse is real. It's happening. We help you with it. Mostlysuperheroes.com/MCU.